If your Google business profile sounds like that, you've probably got some issues. But if you implement everything here today that I'm about to show you, then your Google business profile is going to shoot up through the rankings and start to sound a little bit more something like this. My name is Austin Ryder. I'm here to show you how to do local SEO. I've been doing it for 7 years now, and I've worked with many different brands from Fortune 500 tech companies all the way down to your local roofing business. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the 3 layers of optimization that you need to do to start getting more phone calls and website visits through your profile. Those 3 layers are your profile details, your landing page, and reputation management. There are a few ways to find your Google business profile. First, you can do it by searching My Business into the Google search bar, and this will pull up all of your Google business profile listings as it correlates to whatever Google account you're logged into. Second, you can search your business name as it's listed on your Google business profile, and it should appear. Ideally, you might have to add your city modifier to the search in order to find it. Third, you can go to the navigation for Google and you can see that there's a Google business profile option there as long as you have profiles on your Google account. Again, you want to make sure that you're logged into whatever Google account you use for your Google business profile. There are a couple other ways to find it, but these are the 3 main ways and you should be able to find it with these instructions. If you do not already have one, that is a topic for another video, but I will include a link for how to set up your Google business profile in the description. So your business profile name is one of those things where you can get suspended if you try to game the system. You used to be able to add in keywords and kind of do whatever you want with the business name. That's been under heavy scrutiny from Google recently. So if you try to mess with it, you're going to put yourself at risk of suspension. Just stick to whatever you have on your signage for your business name or whatever your legal business name is, and they won't be able to say or do anything to get you suspended from that. So stick to what's simple. For your location, this is important. There are 2 types of businesses that you can have in Google. So first is a service area business. So this is when you are a type of business that goes out to your customers and performs a service. Think lawn care, think any home service, typically, different things like that. Now, for location businesses where you have a physical brick and mortar location where people come to you, think about dentists, doctors, retail stores, different things like that. These are the type of businesses that have a physical location and will show up in the maps. Now, Google wants to really differentiate these 2 types of businesses because if you are a roofing business, for example, and you operate out of your house and you have your house listed in Google as an address that people can go to, then that defeats the purpose of what Google wants the maps to be about. Google wants the maps, every business to be on the map, to be a place where you can go. There's a sign out front saying, XYZ roofing company. You can go in, you can speak to somebody working there. What they don't want is they don't want people showing up to your house expecting to find a business and you're really just operating out of your house. So for those types of businesses, you do want to list it as a service area business, meaning you have a certain territory that you operate within and you go out to your clients that way. If you try to game this and you try to, add an address when you are a service area business, then you are at risk for suspension as well. And, it's really hard to get unsuspended if you do get suspended. If you fail the appeal, it's a little bit of a nightmare. My recommendation is typically to not do anything that will get you suspended. I will say, however, on that note, that having a location where people can come to increases your exposure significantly. You're showing up on maps, you're ranking higher in the Google Map pack. If you don't have that physical address, it's just going to really kill your reach in Google. So depending on your industry, it could be worth it to set up an office somewhere so that you can, have a legitimate Google business profile and you have your signage in front of that office and you can prove that to Google that you're a legitimate business and a legitimate office. And that way you'll have way more exposure for your business in Google. For service areas, I often see businesses kind of doing this wrong. What they'll do is they'll add every single city in the state. You don't want to be driving out halfway across the state to do some services. Keep this tight. Keep this down to the neighborhoods within your city. For example, I'm in Denver. So if I were to do my service areas, I would do Thornton, I would do Lakewood, I would do Aurora, Littleton, Centennial. These are all suburbs around Denver. You can do counties, you can do suburbs, you can do neighborhoods, you can do surrounding cities. I would try to keep it within, maybe like a 50 to 100 mile radius of your main location, or really just however far you would actually go to drive out and perform whatever service you're trying to offer. You can get up to 20 service areas that you can add. And so I would max that out, add as many as possible. And you are more likely to show up in those areas where you have yourself listed as a service area. So business hours are interesting. Just stick to what your business hours are. When are you going to be taking calls? For certain industries, there are different practices that I've seen being implemented. For example, in personal injury, firms will mark themselves open 24/7 if they have some sort of AI chatbot or live agent that can handle customer questions on the off hours in the middle of the night, etc. If you don't have anything like that set up where you can take customers and speak to customers 24/7, just list normal business hours, 8 to 5, whatever you are. Again, don't try to get cute with it. Now, there have been some studies showing that businesses that are open 24/7 tend to get more visibility just because Google doesn't show closed businesses as often when people are searching for things. So if you're searching for a business at 8 p.m. at night, a lot of businesses are already closed at that time. The few businesses that are listed as 24/7 are more likely to show up in the map pack when people are searching at that time, even if they're not looking for that exact service at that moment. And they're maybe like, hey, I'm going to call this business in the morning. I just want to do some research right now. So there can be some advantages if you try to make your business open 24/7, but just be wary about making sure that people don't try to reach out to you if you say you're open 24/7 and then you can't get back to them until the morning. Business category. This is an important one, but pretty straightforward. You're just going to want to find the closest possible representation of what you do in the form of a category. So if you're a personal injury lawyer, do not just select attorney, select personal injury attorney. If you are a physical therapist, don't just select doctor's office, select, physical therapy or rehab. There's very, very specific categories for many different things. I will include a list of all the categories down below, but I will say that Google is constantly updating this and adding new categories. So make sure that you check back periodically to make sure that you have the closest representation of what you do. I would also add as many secondary categories as you can, but don't do things that don't represent what you are. Back to the personal injury example, do not include things like divorce lawyer or business law or things like that if your law firm does not practice those things. So stick to what you do, get as close as you can. If you're a restaurant, but you have a bar, then you can add the bar category as a subcategory. Try to include as many as you can without being deceptive or just trying to game the system. As a side note, you can install the Chrome extension GMB everywhere. This will allow you to see all of your competitors' categories and give you some more ideas of what you can do with your profile to help you rank above the rest. For your phone number, pretty straightforward. Use your main phone number if that's the only one you have. If you do want to use a call tracking number, say if you have a number of locations and you want to be able to know exactly which Google Business Profile is driving calls, then you can use a tracking number as your primary number, and then you can add either a toll-free or your main business line as additional phone numbers on the account. Make sure you have that tracking phone number as the primary number that is being listed. Your description is a great place to include keywords, so make sure you fill this out to its entirety. Include history of your company, why people should go with you, what are your differentiators. This is a pretty typical business description, your elevator pitch essentially to potential clients, and this does appear for everybody. So make sure that you fill this out, nicely and include specific keywords that you want your business to rank for. Don't overdo that part, but sneak some in there naturally, organically, and make sure that your business description is long enough to make sure that you're communicating your value to your potential clients. For your opening date, just do the earliest possible date that you can add. It shows up on Google as business XYZ has been open for 15 years, for 20 years, however long. Having that isn't a direct ranking factor, but it can definitely convince more people to go with you if you've been open longer than anybody else. Now, for your services, products, menu. Now, this is a place where you can really get into the optimization of your profile, so don't take this lightly. Services are for service-based businesses. Think dentists, personal injury law firms, med spas, marketing agencies. You're going to want to create different services and categories of services for everything that you do. Get specific with this. Don't include things that you don't do, but get specific and list out everything that you do, every single service that you offer, add descriptions for as many of these services as possible, and use this space to really add in different keywords and communicate what you do with your customers. Now, I'm not saying to keyword stuff and to over optimize this, but include keywords in your descriptions and your service names. If you are a restaurant, you can add a menu functionality to your Google Business profile. This will show up for people on the maps and in Google alike. Typically, if they're browsing through their phone, they'll see this pop up. Also include a link to a PDF of your menu, or if it's on your website, I would still include that. However, you can add your entire menu to the Google Business profile listing, which makes it that much more easy for people to go in and see exactly what you're offering. You can add different categories for what you offer. So if you offer beverages, dinner, lunch, breakfast, etc., you can categorize it however you'd like. But the menu functionality is really important. You can add your pricing. Just make sure that you stay on top of updating it when things change with your menu. Products are more for the retail-oriented businesses. However, I do see a lot of service-based businesses using products to display their services. There's not currently any Google guidelines against doing this, so I would actually encourage you to do this if you are a service business. Add a few of your top services as products to your Google Business profile. You can add in pricing range, you can add in a description of the service, you can add an image of your service that you can use some graphic design on to make it pop out a little bit more on the Google Business profile. For those more retail-oriented businesses, you don't have to add all of your products. I would just add some of the main ones that you want to showcase, add a description, add pricing, et cetera, et cetera. You can even add collections similar to that of like an e-commerce store where you can have different products categorized together into different collections. Now, your business attributes are pretty straightforward. It's not a direct ranking factor. So again, you don't need to try to game anything here. Just list what actually is true about your business. If you are wheelchair accessible, if you're not, you take Spanish, do you take different languages, different things like that. So just go through it, mark what's applicable and just ignore what's not. Again, it's not a direct ranking factor, so don't try to game anything here. For social profiles, go ahead and add in your social profile links. If you don't have these, I would highly recommend just going through and at least creating accounts for each of these. These help legitimize your business in the eyes of Google. It's not exactly proven whether this is a direct ranking factor or not, or if it directly improves performance or not, but we want your profile to look as filled out as possible. We want you to look as established as possible to your customers. That helps improve conversions. So add in those profile links and they will appear on your Google Business profile pretty prominently. Photos. Big piece here. You need to make sure that you have photos of your business on your profile. I know, crazy, right? But super important. Make sure that they're professional. I recommend to all my local businesses to just have someone professional come out, do the photos, get some 360 photos if you're a brick and mortar store, so people know exactly what to expect when they walk in. You don't want any surprises. There was a study that said that businesses with photos get 35% more clicks to their website and 42% more direction requests from the maps. That's crazy numbers. So just adding photos can improve your performance by 35% alone based on the data. Add photos, add videos, add 360 tours, everything that you can to showcase your wonderful space to your potential customers. Just a few more tips on photos. Make sure that you're not using stock photography. You can literally get suspended for that. You get flagged. Only use original photos. Try to avoid more of the graphic design, promotional photos. Stick to business photos, your team, your space, anything else that you want to include. If you don't have a verified listing, your photos won't show up publicly yet. However, if people are leaving reviews and they're posting photos in their reviews, that also shows up in your photo pool when other people are going to your Google Business profile. So just be aware of that. It's not just your photos that you upload that gets added to it. It's everybody's. So make sure also that you're keeping an eye on your reviews and making sure that the photos that people are uploading are of good quality and represent your business well. You'll have one primary photo that will essentially be the cover photo of your business. Make sure that this one is your best possible photo. You'll also have a logo. Make sure that that's in a square format, accurately represents your business logo. Include exterior, interior photos. Make sure that you're getting the outside of the business so people know what to look for when they arrive. Include interior photos so that when they walk in, they know exactly what to expect. If you're a restaurant, I highly recommend you add photos of your food and drinks so that people, are excited to come in and try your food. So those are some of the main things that I would do with your photos. This again is a very, very important piece. So make sure you get this part right, especially people browsing on mobile. They'll go through and they'll look at all the photos of the place before they go. Food, services, whatever you do, photos are important. Q&A is pretty straightforward as well. You're going to want to go through and pose all the questions that your customers will have about your product or service. So you pose a question, you provide the answer. Make sure it's thorough, make sure it's detailed. Don't just, provide one word answer. It is a little weird that you have to go through and ask the question yourself and then provide the answer yourself, but your customers will be able to see the answers that you provide. Make sure you're thorough, make sure that you include keywords in your answers. Again, we're not keyword stuffing. We're not trying to game the system here. We're just including important questions and answers that your customers want to know about you. The only thing that I'll say about updates is this is way less important of a ranking signal than what a lot of people make it out to be. I've tested this out extensively, over 30 locations, tested out posting updates regularly for months, and then cold turkey stopping, and pretty much saw no difference at all between when we were posting and when we weren't. There wasn't a difference in conversions, in traffic, anything. So you can use it, post updates, just roll it in with your normal social media posting cadence. If you post something to Facebook or Instagram, just also post it to your Google Business profile. It does help fill out the profile a little bit more, show some activity. But again, don't go into this thinking, oh, I have to post every week or else I'm never going to get found on Google. No, that's not the reason why you're not ranking. Do it, but don't rely on that as your main optimization strategy. Just a quick plug, I'm working on more videos for you that will help take your local SEO game to the next level. I'm going to get more into advanced strategies and tactics. So if you're interested in seeing anything else, I highly recommend you like this video and subscribe to let me know that I should continue making these videos. But like I said, I want to get way more in depth with everything. So stay tuned and follow along for more content. All right, last thing on the profile itself, I promise. For this one, we're going to be looking at the URL, which is going to segue us perfectly into our next topic about your landing page. But for the URL that you use on your Google Business profile to link to your website, there's a few different ways that you can go about this. First off, you're going to want to first acknowledge whether you are a single location business or if you have many locations. If you have many locations, then you're going to want to use specific location landing pages for each profile that you have. So for example, if you are based in Denver, but you have a location in Aurora, you'll have a Google Business profile for Denver, and that'll go to a Denver specific landing page. If you have for your Google Business profile in Aurora, you're going to want that to link to an Aurora specific landing page on your website. So want the landing page to be localized to wherever we are located. Now for single locations, you can just use your homepage, or you can use a city specific page. You could use a service page. You can use whatever page you want. I typically recommend going with the homepage for these situations. And there is an extra step that we're going to want to add on, which is going to be the UTM parameters. The UTM tracking code on your URL is just a series of parameters that you can add, which is primarily for helping out with Google Analytics and tracking purposes. If you have multiple locations especially, it's important to know exactly which Google Business profiles are sending traffic to the site. And so this way, when people click on that link, that is tracked in Google Analytics, and you know that that click came from location X or location Y. All right, so at this point, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is that everything up until this point was just a one-time optimization. Typically, you just do it once and then it's set. The bad news is that if you actually want to rank at the top of the map pack and generate all the leads that are coming in from Google, you're gonna have to do a lot more legwork in some of these other areas that we're about to talk about. So those are all the basic optimizations. I wanna get more into the nitty-gritty of what actually ranks you at the top of the map pack. So let's jump in. So in this section, we're just going to cover the basics of on-page optimization. I'm not going to get too into it right now because that is a topic for another day. But we want to make sure that your landing page is optimized so that when people do come over from Google Business Profile to your website, they feel compelled to convert and become a client. Again, this video is about you getting leads, not just about ranking your Google Business Profile. So on the page that you have linked to your Google Business Profile, let's just use a home page, for example. There's a few on-page elements that are going to be critical for making sure that you are fully optimized and set up for success with SEO. So first and foremost, title tag, meta description. This can typically be optimized within whatever SEO tool that you have on your website or within the page builder settings of whatever you're using, whether it's Wix, Square, Weebly, whatever. All of these tools typically have title tag, meta description optimization. So for your title tag, you're going to want to set that to service in whatever city you are doing. So let's say that you are a personal injury law firm in Denver, Colorado. Personal injury law firm, Denver, Colorado. That's a good title tag. Whatever keyword that you want to rank for, the most important keyword that you have, put that in the front with the city after. You can add a hyphen with business name after that. However, a lot of times Google is now kind of chopping that off and not including that on their meta descriptions in the Google search results. The title tag is basically just what shows up in Google when they search for your name. The meta description, again, not a direct ranking factor. Use this to include some sort of promotion, like, hey, call us for a free consultation or call us for a free roof inspection. Whatever your main offer is, include that there. We want to use that to improve our click-through rate onto the website. Keep in mind that whatever page your Google Business Profile links to should be focused on that city that you are located in, that your Google Business Profile is saying that you're located in. If your address is in Denver, Colorado, make sure that your website is focused on your service in Colorado, similar to the title tag. The other thing that you're going to want to make sure is consistent is your name, address, and phone number. This is known as NAP. So NAP is very, very important, and we want to make sure that your name, address, and phone number is consistent, not just on your Google Business Profile and your website, but also every other listing on the internet. So Facebook, Yelp, whatever. Make sure it is consistent, have the same phone number, address, and business name listed across the entire internet. As far as the rest of the elements on your website goes, we do have a full checklist that you can download down below that will outline everything that you need to include on your primary landing page, from the types of images that you want to have, including smiling customers, all the way to the types of CTAs you use, whether it's a phone call button or if it's a button to a form. You're also going to want to make sure that all of your headings are optimized across the entire website. This is how Google will read your page and determine how a page is structured. So make sure your heading tags are set and optimized for keywords. And then a lot of websites that I see just don't have enough content on them. You don't want to go overboard and try to produce like 2,000, 3,000 words of content on a landing page. Have, 800 to 1,000 words in that range, maybe less, maybe more, depending on your industry. Look at your competitors, see what they're doing, and try to match whoever's ranking well in your industry. Don't go too shallow on content. Make sure you have enough in there. Make sure you're including your keywords in your content. All of this is very, very important for improving the ranking of your Google Business Profile. We've talked about how to optimize your Google Business Profile and your landing page. I did want to include an extra ranking factor that people don't typically talk about, and it's really outside of your control for the most part, and that is proximity to searcher. So if you are close to, physically close to where the searcher is, you're more likely to show up in the map pack. Even if you aren't fully optimized, don't have more reviews, it will show businesses that are close to the searcher, which is why it's so important to have that physical address location. If you are a service area business, you're much less likely to be shown those people. But if you're there and you're showing up on the map and you're close to the searcher, you will appear higher. Now, the reason why I say that's pretty much outside of your control is because I've seen businesses pick up and move to a new location that's in a more densely populated area, has more foot traffic, more driving traffic, just so that they can get more exposure on the map pack. Which seems kind of crazy to do, but when you think about the ROI that it comes with, of getting that extra visibility to all those nearby searchers and potential customers, it does make sense financially for some businesses to go ahead and do that. Third and most important ranking factor here that you really need to start focusing on is getting reviews. And I'm sure you've heard this before, but this is probably the most important ranking factor that's within your control. So you optimize everything, your landing page, your profile, great. The top ranking companies that get the most leads have a lot of good reviews. Not only that, they respond to all the reviews that come in, all of them, even if they're not good. It just shows that you are an active company. If you have a personality, show your personality in the reviews. Show that you're personable, that you're a real company with real people working there. It's just so important. And you want to earn those repeat customers too. If somebody goes out of their way to leave you a review, show them that you care, that they matter, and leave a comment, leave a reply to that review. Always encourage your customers to leave photo reviews if possible. I know a roofer that does a really, really good job sending people drone pictures of the roof so that when they leave the review, they leave pictures of the roof. And all those photos kind of go into their gallery on their Google Business Profile. So it's really important to have good reviews. One thing I will say is avoid the temptation to buy a bunch of reviews. There are services out here that do this. I highly recommend against it if you have a legitimate business. This is a good way to get yourself suspended and flagged and avoid any other like sketchy tactics that might get you flagged. We're getting reviews from a bunch of people that don't live in the city that you're in. Google knows if people that are leaving you a review are in your city or not. So you can see if you are trying to game the system. Fair warning. I'm going to talk a little bit about some different strategies that you can use to get more reviews and set up some automations to actually reply to all these reviews that are coming in. Every industry is going to have different ways to get reviews. So you're going to have to do some research on your own potentially to figure out the best way for your industry to ask for reviews. The keyword here is ask. You have to ask for the review. Very few people just go out of their way to leave reviews on their own without being prompted. So if you're relying on that, you're really hindering your growth there. So I highly recommend building a system within your business that you can train your employees on to get those reviews. One example for, say, home service companies where you go to the site, you do the job, and then you leave. You don't want to leave the site without getting that review, without at least asking for that review. The odds of you getting a review after you leave drop off significantly. One thing that you can do is you can equip all of your workers with tap cards. So when they're standing there with the client, checking out, wrapping up, say, hey, we really appreciate your business. And if you had a good experience with us, we would really love a 5-star review on Google, and hand them the tap card. They tap their phone to it. It immediately pops up with the Google review option. And so they can get that review on the spot. And then after the fact, they can always send a follow-up email to, if they didn't get to do that in person. Bake it into your systems. You just want to make sure that whatever you do, have a system for it so that you can repeatedly get reviews where your employees are getting the reviews for you. Streamlined system. You always want to get the review when it's fresh, as soon as possible, when the work is delivered, when the satisfaction is at its highest. That's when you want to ask for that review. So when it comes to reviews, build your system. Like I said, when satisfaction is at its highest, that's when you want to ask for the review. It can be in an email. It can be in person. It could be a letter in the mail, the QR code. So there's a lot of ways to do it. Something else I would recommend too is if you have a list of all of your past clients you've ever worked with, create an email campaign saying like, hey, I know it's been some time, but we really appreciate your business. And we're working on growing ourselves and improving our services. So we'd really appreciate a review based on your experience with our brand. Something like that, totally off the riff, but make sure that you are thanking them for leaving. It takes some time. It takes some time and energy to go out of their way to leave them a review. It's valuable time, so we have to be thankful for them. And then again, reply to the review thoughtfully, personably, and pictures are always helpful. Now, if you are looking to set up an autoresponder using AI for your Google reviews, it does take away from the personability of it. But if you do want to save that time and automate that, something that I can actually help with. So I know that there are some tools out there that can do it, like Birdeye, Klaviyo, I think has something for that. If you really want to get that set up for yourself, just reach out to me. Link below, and I will help you set up your autoresponder for Google reviews. It responds within a few minutes automatically to every review that comes in, so you never have to worry about anything dropping through the cracks. The only other thing that I'm going to say about reviews is Google does show other platforms and your overall rating on other platforms. So Angie's List, Yelp, Facebook, maybe even Trustpilot, some of these other review aggregation platforms. Google is showing this in search results. Make sure that you're on those platforms. Make sure that you're on these other review platforms. For some reviews, to some of these other platforms, Google's not the only platform that matters. It does take into account your total web presence. That's why people often recommend building citations and directory listings. This can move the needle. I've done some pretty large scale tests with citations and haven't seen noticeable differences. I can't vouch for the fact that citations will move the needle for you and drive you a ton of leads. I highly recommend just going out and at least signing up for a few directories. Some of the big ones, like I said, Yelp, Angie's List, if you're a home service, whatever is specific to your industry, don't get on those directories. It's worth doing. Great. So your Google Business Profile is optimized. Your landing page is optimized. Your proximity to the searcher is good, hopefully. And now you're getting reviews. You're applying to the reviews automatically. Everything's running great. How long does it take to actually start getting a bunch of leads from the Google Business Profile? It depends on your industry. It's a crappy answer, but it's the truth. Industries like personal injury law, it's going to take time. It's going to take maybe even a couple of years. It's super competitive. But if you're in a non-competitive industry, you can do all this, or maybe you're in a non-competitive city. You can do all of this and start seeing results, within a couple weeks. It just matters how many views do your competitors have, how many reviews do you have, how centrally located are you in the city. All these things are factors. You can track these things with your performance tab in your Google Business profile. Just make sure you're tracking the performance of it, analytics tools and whatnot. So make sure that it's working, make tweaks when you need to, and remember to just keep everything as ethical as possible so that you don't get suspended. Thank you so much for watching. That's all I have for today. So please check out more of my videos on my YouTube channel and posting local SEO content and everything else and all that. So blah, blah, blah. If you have any more questions, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to connect and talk to you and get you some help. If you want a free SEO audit for your business, if you're a business owner, got that as well in the description. So click on that link and fill out a request form for that. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day and hope to see you soon.